Prime Minister possibly his viability is excellent to poor as Prime Minister John Compton, etc. We have all those things. And I had all those results and could have published them. I, in fact, let one or two people in the Labour Party know for their own purposes what was going on there. I did not publish them. I didn't want to be accused. In fact, to be quite truthful, I didn't want to be there trying to sink anybody's boat. I held on to this, and I figured I would read that during the thing with Tim, the panel discussion. I chose not to in the end, and I will do this tonight, just to show you where I was coming from. But as I say, everybody, every one of those ministers, in fact, most of them spoke to me and expressed their concerns, at the very least their concerns about Kenny's image with the electorate. I have since found out the kind of trouble that the canvassers had getting people to stick the million I Love Kenny strips on their cars. There were some, but not nearly as many as you might have had all the Labour Party people been happy. I know for a fact that a number of the candidates encountered Labour supporters who were telling them they had a problem with Kenny Anthony. I remember on maybe the Saturday before the elections, I was driving on the highway going to the store, and I picked up a young woman. I know her by her face, don't remember her name. If she's watching this, you can call. She works at Sandals. And she's talking about the elections, naturally. And she said, I'm very sorry I am not going to vote for Mr. Hunt. I said, well, why? He says, well, I don't like Kenny Anthony. And a vote for Hunt is a vote for Kenny Anthony. I said, come on, why? She says, anyway, I've told Mr. Hunt so. I'm giving him my number because he wanted to talk to me. And I haven't heard from him, but I gave him my number so I could tell him why. But in any case, I'm going to be voting Spider. And that's all I heard. The candidates, most of them who spoke to me, told me the problems they were encountering from supporters because of their dissatisfaction, their concern, or whatever it is, of Kenny Anthony. Of course, let me be frank and tell you that there are people who say, but Rick, you're the one landed him with that image. That's a matter of opinion. I don't know that. All I know is I wrote about Rochamel consistently. I wrote about Helenites consistently. And all of those things might have been answered appropriately from the very, very early days. I wrote about Matthew Roberts and the McDoom affair. But before I wrote about the McDoom affair, I talked to the Prime Minister about those things. That's not a secret. I'm not betraying any kind of personal secrets. I talked to him about it. His attitude was totally negative. He's not going there. As with most of the other issues, I was sufficiently tight with them at the time that I could tell the Prime Minister, I'll be doing this. You should check this, to check. Never bothered with it. Right up to elections. It's only at election time. And you might remember the Prime Minister saying that he will discuss Rochamel at election time. Ultimately, he admitted, and I thought, there are people who are going to say, well, elections. I don't care about that. He eventually admitted that mistakes were made. I have never suspected Kenny Anthony of hanky-panky. I really believe that Kenny Anthony is too chicken and too scared about his image to touch anybody's money. That's my belief. Naive? I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm naive. I don't believe Kenny Anthony is a crook. I don't believe Kenny Anthony has a crooked bone in his body. But I believe Kenny Anthony has a problem with personality. I had a recent encounter with a man, and I actually said to him, I said to you, I don't understand you. You're not a politician. You're not a politician, Because Kenny Anthony really did move with his heart. I think he must be dying right now. It reminds me, in a way, of Romanus Lancico. Romanus Lancico really, really believed he had served well, served the people. I mean, and let's face it, the man was JC's. He was a fundraiser. He was a fundraiser when his own party didn't support him for the hospital. And